Hello Americans channel. This video is made by free videos from Storyblocks, and these images and video we use just for explanation, and it's free use also. For days a neighborhood was intrigued by a scared cat fiercely guarding a bucket, refusing to leave it alone, night or day. Curious and concerned, Officer Nolan, known in the community for his soft spot for animals, decided it was time to uncover the mystery behind the cat's unusual behavior. When he finally looked inside, Nolan couldn't help but cry at the sight. Scared cat protects bucket for days, cop cries after looking inside. As he was trying to get the black cat out of the rusty old bucket, the determined animal was fighting him every step of the way. In his days he had tried to help many animals, but none had behaved like this cat. It was very clear to Officer Nolan that she was protecting something inside, and he could not help but have his curiosity piqued as to what. Eventually he did succeed in separating the cat from the bucket without harming the animal. He had already brought a cage with him to which he transferred the still struggling animal. Only with the cage door closed could Nolan finally have a breather and take a bit of a better look at the butter. And the off-duty officer was in for a big surprise. He did not know what to expect, but seeing a bunch of old-looking gold coins at the bottom was very much not on his list of predictions. Nolan grabbed one out and tried to learn more about it by looking at the markings. He was not an expert, but as far as he could tell, they looked very real. These could be worth a fortune. But why the hell was the cat protecting them? And why were they in this bucket, randomly standing in the park? Officer Nolan had a lot of questions about this strange ordeal and had no idea where to start asking them. But when bringing the bucket and the cat to his police car, he got a bit of a lead. He was moving some of the coins around in the bucket and got a glimpse of the bottom. It did not look as rusty or worn down as the rest of the item, and it looked like there was something engraved in it. At his police car, he quickly dumped the gold coins out into a large evidence bag and put the still screaming cat in the back seat. Now he could finally have a bit of a better look at what was engraved in the bottom of the bucket. It was clearly not down securely or mechanically or something. It was barely legible. This was done by hand, and it was done rather quickly by the looks of it. With a bit of effort, Nolan managed to read that the engraving on the bucket read "There's more. Bring the cat," followed by a row of numbers which Nolan recognized as coordinates. He immediately pulled out his phone to see where these coordinates would lead him. And to his surprise, they were actually located quite far out of the city, almost in the middle of nowhere from what he could tell. It was at least a 5-hour drive from where he was standing right now. Had this kitten been transported all the way from over there, or was something else going on? Nolan figured that the only way he would get answers to those questions was to actually go to that location. But he hesitated if he wanted to make this official police business yet. He knew that if he told his superiors about the coins, there would be a lot of paperwork to be done, which would result in a lot of delays. He knew that he might get in trouble if they found out he was withholding information. But Nolan did figure that nobody knew about these coins. People had seen the cat defending the bucket, but if they had any idea what the animals were protecting, then the gold coins would be taken in seconds. After a bit of hesitation, Nolan decided to take matters into his own hands. He was not even on duty at the moment and not driving his police car. Nobody would bat an eye if he were to just go on the 5-hour drive to the coordinates and try to figure out the truth about the animal and the coin. And that is exactly what the officer would end up doing. He did make a quick stop to stack up on some supplies. Food and water for the cat and for himself, but also some tools like a shovel and a crowbar. And he also had his on-duty weapon on him. He had no intention of using it, as he would have to justify every shot to the station, but he also had no idea what kind of situation he was getting himself into. Maybe just having and showing the piece could already be very helpful. Before hitting the road, Nolan grabbed his phone and dialed his wife. "Hey, something came up, and I need to check it out," he explained, keeping the details sparse. "Not sure when I'll be back." His voice was calm, but his mind raced with thoughts of the adventure ahead. She wished him luck, a mixture of concern and curiosity in her voice. Nolan felt a pang of guilt for leaving her in the dark, but knew it was for the best. Nolan started the car, the silent cat in its cage and the bag of coins on the passenger seat. As the city's skyline faded in the rearview mirror, the mystery of the cat and the coins weighed on him, The open road stretched before him, leading towards unknown dangers and discoveries. The cat, though quiet, seemed to sense the change, its eyes reflecting a mix of fear and anticipation. The more Nolan thought about the cat's fierce protection of the coins, the more baffled he became. Found guarding them as if its life depended on it, the cat's attachment was a riddle. Why guard these coins so diligently? Nolan wondered aloud, glancing at the silent feline. It merely blinked back at him, its secrets locked behind those deep, unreadable eyes. Reports had mentioned the cat sitting in the bucket for days, which explained its hunger and agitation when Nolan found it. It was a strange guardian for such a peculiar treasure. Nolan made sure to feed the cat regularly during the journey, noticing how it cautiously ate, always keeping one eye on its surroundings. The cat's resilience and determination impressed him, even as questions swirled in his mind. Despite the oddity of the situation, Nolan focused on the road ahead. The coordinates led him away from the familiarity of the city into increasingly remote areas. Farms and occasional trucks were the only signs of life in the vast openness. The mystery deepened with every mile, pulling Nolan further into its grasp. He prepared for whatever lay at the journey's end, the cat and coins his only companions in this quest for answers. As Nolan drove further, the world around him grew more desolate. Farms appeared like mirages, few and far between, with the occasional truck roaring past. The bustling city seemed like a distant memory, replaced by an expansive void. The cat, sensing the change, shifted uneasily in its cage. Nolan's eyes stayed fixed on the road, the only sign of civilization a fading contrail in the cloudless sky. Glancing at his map, Nolan noticed the absence of any marked houses near the coordinates. The path he followed veered off the paved road, leading into untamed wilderness. It was as if he was driving into a forgotten world, one hidden from the prying eyes of satellites and smartphones. With each turn, the anticipation built, mingled with a hint of doubt about the journey's end. The terrain turned rough, forcing Nolan to navigate through fields that jostled both him and his reluctant passenger. The cat meowed its displeasure, its cage rattling with every bump and dip. Nolan's car, not made for such treacherous paths, groaned under the strain. But he pressed on, driven by the mystery at hand, his eyes scanning for any sign of the destination promised by the cryptic message and coordinates. Finally, Nolan's perseverance paid off as he arrived at the coordinates. What greeted him was not what he had expected: an open, empty landscape, devoid of any notable landmarks. The area was eerily silent, with only the wind whispering through the grass. Nolan stepped out of the car, stretching his legs and taking in the desolate scenery. The cat, too, seemed to sense the significance of the location, its eyes wide and alert. Standing in the middle of nowhere, Nolan couldn't help but question the reliability of the information that led him here. There were no signs of life, no hidden treasures, just the vast, unending expanse. Yet, the message had been clear: there's more. Bring the cat. Nolan looked around, wondering if he had missed something, or if the journey had been a wild goose chase from the start. Nolan scanned the empty expanse. A nagging thought in the back of his mind: was this all a prank? The coins, now seeming more like elaborate props, cast a shadow of doubt over the entire journey. Walking back and forth, he replayed the events that led him here, each step a mix of frustration and disbelief. The vast, silent landscape offered no answers, only echoing his growing uncertainty. While pacing, Nolan's boot struck something hard beneath the soil. Curious, he knelt down, brushing away the dirt to uncover a metal plate hidden underneath. This unexpected find jolted him out of his skepticism. With renewed focus, he started to clear the surrounding area, revealing more of the metal plate. The cat, sensing the shift in Nolan's demeanor, watched intently from its cage, its earlier unease forgotten. As Nolan cleared more dirt, a large sealed door emerged, embedded in the ground. The metal was cool and solid under his hands, the design unfamiliar yet unmistakably deliberate. This was no natural occurrence; someone had placed it here for a reason. The discovery of the door, so incongruous with the desolate surroundings, reignited Nolan's curiosity. The prank theory dissolved as the reality of his find sunk in. Standing before the sealed underground door, Nolan's initial thoughts of a prank faded into the background. The door was too real, too heavy with potential to be a mere fabrication. It was a tangible mystery lying at his feet, challenging him to delve deeper into its secrets. The air around him seemed charged with anticipation, the silence now a beckoning whisper urging him to explore further. Hesitant, Nolan contemplated the unknown dangers lurking beneath the door. The possibility of treasure, or something far less welcoming, played at the edges of his mind, yet the pull of curiosity was too strong to ignore. He glanced at the cat, its presence a silent reminder of the journey's bizarre beginning. With a deep breath, he prepared to breach the threshold, the unknown depths calling to him. The overgrown vines and rust on the door hinted at years, maybe decades, of neglect. Nolan guessed it could be an old bunker, abandoned and forgotten by all but history. The sight of it, half hidden and silent, whispered stories of the past, urging him to uncover its secrets. Yet, as he approached, the reality of the heavy, unmoving lock stood as a silent guardian against intruders. Convinced of the need to explore further, Nolan faced the stubborn reality of the door's lock. It was old, rusted, yet unyielding, mocking his attempts with silent resistance. He tugged and twisted, hoping for some give, some crack in the door's armor, but it remained firm, a steadfast gatekeeper to the mysteries lying beyond. Nolan's resolve hardened the lock was a challenge, not an end. Despite his growing frustration, the door remained steadfastly locked, refusing to budge under Nolan's efforts. He knew brute force alone wouldn't win this battle. Retreating to his car, he rummaged through his supplies for anything that might offer a solution. Screwdrivers, a hammer, even the crowbar. Each tool was met with failure, the door's lock an uncrackable safe guarding its secrets zealously. Nolan's determination didn't wane as he tested every tool at his disposal, but the door proved a formidable opponent. Each attempt, from leveraging with the crowbar to picking the lock, ended in failure. The tools, so reliable in the past, now seemed like toys against the stubborn seal. It was clear conventional methods were futile. Nolan needed a plan as bold as the mystery itself. Spotting a thick rope in the back of his car, Nolan was struck with a daring idea. If tools couldn't open the door, maybe force could. He envisioned using his car as a makeshift battering ram, the rope as the connection between machine and mystery. It was a risky move, one that could damage his car or the door beyond repair, but the potential reward outweighed the risk. With a plan in mind, Nolan set to work, ready to confront the challenge head-on. Nolan carefully tied one end of the rope around the sturdy handle of the door and the other end to his car's towing hook. He double-checked the knots, ensuring they were secure. Climbing into the driver's seat, he started the engine, a mix of hope and determination in his heart. This was it, the moment of truth, his plan set into motion with a turn of the key. On his first attempt, the car's wheels spun wildly, kicking up mud but failing to budge the door. Nolan wasn't discouraged. He knew challenges were part of the journey. Adjusting his approach, he found a better angle, one with more grip. The car strained against the weight of history and rust, the rope taut with anticipation. Nolan's persistence was a testament to his determination, unwilling to back down. With a sudden, deafening bang, the door gave way, torn from its ancient hinges by the relentless pull of Nolan's car. The sound echoed across the barren landscape, marking a significant victory in his quest. The door lay twisted and defeated, a silent invitation to the mysteries that awaited within. Nolan's heart raced with excitement and a hint of apprehension at the threshold of discovery. Overcoming the initial shock of the door's dramatic opening, Nolan took a moment to collect himself. He knew that whatever lay beyond this point could change everything. The open doorway was like a portal to another world, hidden beneath the surface. With a deep breath, he prepared himself mentally and physically for the descent. The unknown beckoned, and Nolan was ready to answer its call. Deciding it was best to leave the visibly upset cat in the safety of the car, Nolan armed himself with a flashlight and his sidearm, just in case. He approached the dark opening with cautious steps, aware of the potential dangers that might lurk below. The beam of his flashlight cut through the darkness, revealing the first steps of a journey deeper into the earth. Nolan moved forward, guided by curiosity and a sense of duty. Nolan's journey continued down a staircase that twisted into darkness, leading him to another door. From behind it, he could hear the unmistakable sounds of cats. This unexpected sign of life in such a desolate and hidden place both puzzled and urged him on. The soft mewing sounded almost hopeful, as if aware of his presence. Each step Nolan took was driven by a mix of apprehension and an intense need to discover the source. The further Nolan descended, the clearer the sounds became. The mewing of cats in such an isolated location deepened his curiosity and concern. What were these animals doing here, and how did they survive? The mystery of their presence in this forgotten bunker compelled him to move faster, the urgency fueled by the possibility of finding animals in distress or perhaps uncovering a deeper secret. Driven by the enigma of live animals below, Nolan quickened his pace. The thought of cats surviving in such seclusion raised countless questions. Were they trapped? Who was caring for them? The echoing calls of the animals ahead seemed to beckon him, urging him forward. Each step brought him closer to answers, the darkness ahead punctuated by the faint, hopeful sounds of life. Upon reaching the bottom, Nolan faced a door that appeared old and fragile. Convinced that the answers lay just beyond, he didn't hesitate to use force. After several strong kicks, the door's weak structure gave way, swinging open to reveal what lay inside. Nolan's heart raced as the barrier fell, anticipation and concern flooding in as he prepared to confront whatever awaited him beyond this final threshold. Stepping through the broken door, Nolan was immediately struck by a chaotic scene. Cats scattered in every direction, their eyes reflecting the flashlight's beam as they fled. The smell was overwhelming, a potent mix of animal and decay filling the air. Nolan stood at the entrance, taking in the disorder. The bunker, now revealed as a makeshift sanctuary or prison, held secrets that Nolan was determined to uncover. The sight and smell inside the bunker momentarily overwhelmed Nolan, yet it also pulled him deeper into its mystery. The mess suggested the animals had been living there for some time, without care or order. He stepped cautiously, navigating through the debris, the mewling of the cats echoing eerily in the cramped space. This discovery only added more layers to the puzzle, urging him to explore further. Suddenly, a loud crash from above sliced through the quiet, dragging Nolan's attention back to the surface. Concern for his car and the safety of the cat surged within him, propelling him back towards the staircase. The possibility of vandalism or theft, especially in such a remote location, pressed on him with urgency. His previous discoveries momentarily set aside, Nolan rushed to confront the new threat. Nolan's fears were confirmed as he emerged to find his car vandalized, its windows smashed and doors ajar. The cage was empty, the cat was gone. In the distance, a figure dashed away, their movements swift and determined. Nolan's heart sank at the sight, the loss of the cat adding a personal sting to the intrusion. His training kicked in as he assessed the situation, ready to take action. Nolan shouted commands at the fleeing figure, his weapon drawn and authority clear in his voice. Yet the figure continued to run, ignoring his calls. With reluctance but determination, Nolan fired a warning shot into the air. The sound cracked through the silence, a stark warning. It had the desired effect. The figure halted, their escape cut short. Nolan seized the opportunity, closing the distance quickly. As Nolan approached, the figure turned, their face shadowed and unreadable. The moment was tense, charged with the potential for conflict or revelation. Nolan's mind raced with questions and possibilities. Who was this person, and what was their connection to the bunker, the cats, and the apparent sabotage? The confrontation that loomed was inevitable, a pivotal moment that promised answers or further mysteries. Nolan acted quickly, securing the stranger with handcuffs. His heart raced, not just from the chase but from the anticipation of unraveling the mystery that had led him to this moment. As he tightened the cuffs, Nolan felt a mix of relief and curiosity. This person might hold the answers to the night's bizarre events, and Nolan was determined to uncover the truth, step by step. With the suspect now captured, Nolan took a moment to really look at him. The man's clothes were worn and dirty, hinting at a tough life. His face showed signs of hardship and stress, making Nolan wonder about his connection to the bunker and the animals inside. There was a story here, Nolan could tell, and he was just beginning to peel back the layers. The young man's appearance spoke volumes to Nolan. The ragged clothes, the weary look in his eyes, and the general air of neglect suggested he had faced a harsh existence. His connection to the bunker seemed more and more likely, a piece of a larger puzzle that Nolan was slowly putting together. The question now was not just who he was, but how he fit into the strange situation unfolding. Nolan started questioning the suspect in the car, trying to get a sense of his story, but the close confines and the suspect's reluctance to speak made it clear this wouldn't work. Nolan decided to move back to the bunker, where the evidence could help break the silence. The place itself might prompt the young man to open up, surrounded by the chaos that connected them. Back in the bunker, with the room now lit for thorough inspection, the suspect's silence persisted. Nolan moved around, taking in every detail, showing the suspect the seriousness of the situation. The scattered belongings, the signs of habitation, and the unsettling presence of so many animals in distress, it all painted a grim picture. Nolan waited, patient yet persistent, for the young man to break the silence and start explaining. As Nolan scanned the room, the variety of cats caught his eye, hinting at a much larger operation than he'd initially thought. Different breeds, colors, and sizes roamed the space, some hiding, others curiously watching. This wasn't just a couple of stray cats, it was a whole community. The scale of what he had stumbled upon began to dawn on him, expanding the scope of his investigation. The sheer number of cats raised more questions about the man's activities. What was his intention with all these animals in such a secluded place? Nolan's eyes moved from the cats to the suspect, searching for any clue that might explain the situation. The presence of so many cats in a hidden bunker suggested a level of care and dedication that contradicted the scene of neglect. Exploring further, Nolan discovered setups that resembled a makeshift shelter. Buckets filled with food, litter boxes in corners, and scattered toys showed a crude but sincere attempt to care for the cats. It was clear now this place was meant to be a refuge, albeit a poorly maintained one. The intention behind such an arrangement puzzled Nolan, mixing his suspicion with a touch of begrudging respect for the effort. Past the initial chaos, Nolan found another door, promising more secrets. Opening it revealed a small, lived-in space, starkly different from the room before. This was where the man spent his time, surrounded by evidence of a life led in the shadows. The personal touches in the cramped space hinted at a story much deeper and possibly more complex than Nolan had imagined. Confronted with the undeniable evidence of his involvement, the silent man seemed to realize his options were dwindling. Nolan, seizing the moment, pressed him for answers. The urgency in Nolan's voice was clear. It was time for the truth. The suspect, caught between the reality of his situation and the chance to unburden himself, seemed on the verge of speaking, weighing his limited options in the dim light of the bunker. The interrogation's atmosphere intensified as Nolan, with a firm tone, demanded explanations for the underground setup. His voice echoed off the bunker's walls, a clear sign that he expected answers. The suspect, caught in the beam of Nolan's flashlight, seemed to shrink back, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. Nolan's stance left no room for evasion. It was time for the truth to surface. Reluctantly, the man began to share his story, revealing a complex relationship with the cats and the bunker. He spoke of his connection to these animals not as pets, but as companions in survival. The bunker, a chance discovery, had become more than a shelter. It was a sanctuary for him and the cats alike. His voice, though hesitant at first, gained strength as he recounted the events that led him here. Opening up further, the man recounted his journey from homelessness and battling mental health issues to finding solace among the cats. The bunker had appeared as a beacon of hope during his darkest times. With the cats, he found a purpose and a sense of belonging he hadn't felt in years. His story painted a picture of a man driven to the margins, seeking refuge in the most unlikely of places. He described how discovering the bunker felt like finding a lost kingdom where he and the cats could live undisturbed. It was as if fate had guided him to this hidden place, offering a second chance at life for him and his feline companions. The bunker, with its secrecy and solitude, provided a haven from the hardships of the outside world, a place where they could exist peacefully. Resourcefulness became a key theme in his survival story. He explained how he managed to sustain this hidden existence, relying on scavenged provisions and cat food sourced from outside. His ingenuity in making the bunker habitable and securing food for the cats highlighted his dedication to this secluded life. Despite the challenges, he had carved out a space where he, alongside his companions, could thrive away from society's gaze. The man shared how he began luring stray cats to the bunker, painting a vivid picture of his yearning for companionship amidst isolation. Each cat, he explained, brought a sense of purpose and connection to his solitary existence. This methodical effort to create a community of cats underscored his deep-seated need for company, revealing a poignant aspect of human nature: the innate desire for connection, even in the most secluded of circumstances. As the man narrated his story, Nolan gained valuable insight into the motivations behind the bunker's transformation into a cat sanctuary. It became clear that the man's actions were driven not by malice, but by an earnest attempt to forge a semblance of family and belonging. This understanding shed new light on the situation, allowing Nolan to view the man's endeavors through a lens of compassion and empathy, recognizing the complexity of human actions and their underlying causes. Reflecting on his recent actions, the man admitted to using the black cat and the bucket of fake gold coins as a deliberate ploy to attract attention. The scheme was born out of desperation to recover the black cat, which had escaped the bunker. His confession illuminated the significance of the black cat to him, highlighting the lengths he was willing to go to ensure the safety and return of his cherished companion. His confession detailed the black cat's particular importance and the distress he felt upon its escape. The cat was not just another stray but a symbol of hope and a beacon of comfort in his life of seclusion. The decision to use the feed bucket and fake gold coins was a testament to his desperation and the depth of his attachment to the cat, revealing a poignant narrative of loss and longing. The man explained that his decision to use the feed buckets and fake gold coins was a calculated risk, aimed at drawing anyone capable of assisting in the cat's return. The bucket, a simple tool, had become a beacon, a last-ditch effort to reunite with his lost companion. This strategic move, born from a place of vulnerability, highlighted his resourcefulness and the profound bond he shared with the black cat, underscoring the intricate lengths one might go to in pursuit of reconnection with a beloved pet. Despite his unusual methods, the man's dedication to the cats was undeniable. Each makeshift bed, every bowl of water, and scraps of food were proof of his commitment. His actions, though driven by desperation, spoke volumes of his compassion for these animals. The bunker, a place of refuge for both man and cats, reflected a story not just of survival, but of a deep-seated need to give and receive care. Faced with the man's story, Nolan found himself at a moral crossroads. The easy path would have been to focus solely on the man's unconventional methods. However, understanding the genuine care and good intentions behind his actions, Nolan chose compassion. Recognizing the man's efforts to create a safe haven for the cats, Nolan saw an opportunity to address the situation with empathy, acknowledging the complex interplay of right and wrong in human actions.